Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got how the Houston Texans completed the fastest rebuild in NFL history. Let's check this out.
The Houston Texans have officially
What they've been able to do is like insane, bro. And it all started with D'Amico Ryans drafting CJ Stroud, trading up for Will Anderson. This past then they drafted Tank Dell. This past season they went out and they signed Danielle Hunter. They traded for Diggs. They got Joe Mixon.
Coming out of the NFL where we have a blockbuster trade.
The Houston Texans have traded for Stephon Diggs.
Like, bro, the Texans are looking very scary, bro.
And outmaneuver the other 31 teams on the way to putting together a potential dynasty. Here's the timeline of how,
like, bro, they're the only team that I'm really scared of right now
in NFL history.
Man,
The
gonna be crazy to see
season was the beginning of
what
a
happens this
downward
season.
spiral for the Houston Texans, with the playoffs nowhere in sight, finishing the 2021 season with a record of 4-13, and the team was just completely lost.
There are people every week that still tweet you, that still come up to you and say, hey, we're still rooting for you, we're still behind you. They have no reason whatsoever to. We stink. That's who I feel the most bad for, is our fans.
Especially after trading away one
Damn,
of their most
bro.
valuable
JJ
assets
Watt
this
is
season
letting
before,
them
in
have
DeAndre
it.
Hopkins for literal beans and rice.
Yeah, like, bro, I didn't understand that trade at all.
Part of that deal.
I don't know what the hell is going on in Houston. I don't know what pictures Bill O'Brien has on ownership there. So something's up. To trade this dude and don't even get a first-round pick, it's damn near a fireable offense, if not a flat-out one.
But, and you heard it, Stephen A. talking about, well, he wanted a new contract, and we don't do that. You did it for J.J. Watt. You did it for J.J. Watt. What do you mean you don't do it? You don't let this kind of talent leave the building.
And due to their lack of offensive weapons, the team decided to address the offensive side of the ball in the draft. And I mean, although they didn't have many picks in that draft, the Texans took a shot on a third-round quarterback out of Stanford in Davis Mills to be their savior, as well as a 6'4" freak out of Michigan in Nico Collins to revitalize the team. Ultimately, though, those two just weren't able to do it all by themselves.
Yeah, but Nico living up to the hype, though.
2021 and splitting starts and games with
Roquan.
Taylor, Davis Mills and the Texans only won 3 games. They knew it was time for a change, and just after his first season in a miserable tenure with Bill O'Brien the season prior, the Texans fired David Culley after posting a 4-13 record as the team's head coach. The Texans decided to promote defensive coordinator Lovie Smith as the team's first head coach on February 7th, 2022. Lovie Smith was thought to be able to revitalize the defense and provide some sort of stability for this team after being one of the worst defenses the years before. And not so long after the announcement of Smith becoming the new head coach, the team then just 1 year later, after trading their superstar wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins for literal beans and rice, made a franchise-altering trade that would be the birth of a new dynasty and the demise
Deshaun Watson
of another franchise.
Deshaun Watson.
Where is Deshaun going next?
Deshaun Watson is expected to be a member of the Cleveland Browns.
This is unheard of in the history of this league.
And then, bro, and then fucking the Browns offered. It's like, I still don't understand why they gave him all that money, bro. I really don't. For a guy that you haven't seen play in what, 2 seasons up to that point, you don't know if dude was rusty. He was rusty last season, but I understand you have faith in Deshaun Watson of what he can become for y'all, but like, bro, come on now. Same thing with Jerry Jeudy. He hasn't done anything in the league so far, and they just I just don't get it, bro.
Absolutely
just don't get it.
Ripping off the Browns in the process. The Texans went into the 2022 draft and added some key pieces to their offense and defense instead of opting to take a quarterback in this draft. I mean, they like completely overlooked the position, likely keeping in the mind that the 2023 NFL draft class was absolutely stacked at quarterback. Instead, with their first-round draft pick, they were able to land a very solid corner in Derek Stingley and safety Jalen Petrie in hopes to replace Justin Reed, who had walked during free agency. And while not doing much else in this draft, they really wouldn't feel the effects of that Watson trade until the following draft year. Heading into the 2022 season though, the Texans had, safe to say, one of the worst rosters in the NFL, but it was also one of the youngest offensive rosters with an average age of 26. But on defense, I mean, they honestly were just abysmal. Like, they had a lot of guys with a lot of potential, but just question marks all over the field.
Derrick Henry, bro. I'm so glad we have him.
5, but many analysts picked them to be the
Feels
worst
good to
team
be
in
a
the
Ravens
NFL
fan.
and only win one game. And like, I mean, boy, did they suck. They ranked as the 30th team in points and 24th for points allowed, not really making any improvement on either side of the ball. But you mostly probably could say that was due in part to the youth of this team, a somewhat terrible coach in Lovie Smith, and I mean, honestly, just the lack of talent that this team had. The team well underperformed by this large margin. And in doing so and underperforming by such a large margin, they were able to lock up the first overall pick. Or so they thought.
And the Chicago Bears have, just as improbable as it may have been at the beginning of the day, the Bears have just clinched the #1 pick in the upcoming NFL draft.
That shit is crazy, bro.
Many people around the league were confused and in shock of the Texans winning the game and giving up the first overall.
That was so idiotic, bro.
Simple. I mean, you play to win the game. It's kind of simple.
Bro, like, nah, bro. You could have been winning all this time at the beginning of the year, bro. But when it comes to the first overall pick, bro, and you got a chance to lock that in, you decide to win games now? Nah, bro. Like, I'm glad they got him up out of there.
So even when the Texans didn't need to win, they failed at failing.
Bro wants to win at the last possible second. Like, bro, come on now.
And you don't like to talk about wins that way, but this was incredibly costly.
For real.
A meaningless game.
And you did everything right and did everything the way you should, and you comported yourself and your team right.
Now he wants to win.
The 2-point conversion.
Like, bro, you should have been winning all season long, nigga.
That they had to change things, and after a very questionable way to end the season, and I mean, along with him showing absolutely no improvement with the team, the Texans decided to fire Lovie Smith. Smith's dismissal marked the second straight year in which the Texans fired their head coach after one season on the job.
And the Texans prove yet again that they are not a real organization. It would be a blessing from above if they were to request permission to interview their former, I think he was taken with the first pick of the second round in the 06 draft, if memory serves. A blessing from above if they requested DeMeco Ryans.
Wow, so he called it?
And he actually entertained the job, let alone took it. That would be quite an accomplishment for these Houston Texans.
And I mean, to say the least, they were given that blessing on January 31st.
And we've got some more breaking news out of the NFL where the Houston Texans are finalizing a deal to make DeMeco Ryans their next head coach. That's been reported by our NFL insider Jonathan Jones.
DeMeco Ryans was everything you wanted in a head coach. He was a former player playing for the Texans and Eagles as a linebacker from 2006 to 2015 before being brought on to be a part of the Niners coaching staff and join the Shanahan coaching tree. He even said that this Houston Texans job was his dream job and he wanted to be a part of this rebuild and knew that they could do something special. And I mean, special they were. Now, after hiring Ryans though, they knew that the job was not finished. They had to make sure that they used all of these upcoming picks that they had to the best possible capabilities they had to make sure that they could do this rebuild as fast as possible. And don't forget either that because of the fleece of the trade for Watson, the Texans would have 11 total picks for the 2023 draft and was just the beginning of the Texans dynasty. In one of the most heavily talked about quarterback drafts, no one knew who would go #1. Would it be the smart-minded kid out of Alabama, the athletically gifted kid out of Ohio State, or the kid with the hot girlfriend who put mayonnaise in the coffee out of Kentucky?
Shit, Will Levis bag that right there, bro. On me.
#1 overall. In the leading days to the draft, disaster would strike not only for the Texans organization, but for one of the top prospects in the draft as well.
We've got breaking news out of the NFL, and it is big.
And like, bro, and the Bears fleeced the Panthers. Like, I still don't understand this trade too. Because why would you trade away your number one wide receiver, leaving Bryce Young high and dry with no true number one, and you trade the first round pick for 2024 as well, bro. Like, I just don't understand these organizations doing stupid stuff like this to put young players like Bryce Young in jeopardy like that, to be talked about as a bust. Come on now.
Carolina Panthers. Sources
Come on now, bro.
Carolina Panthers are moving all the way from number 9 to the number 1 overall selection, trading with the Chicago Bears for the right to draft any quarterback they want.
And everybody's trying to figure out exactly what Carolina do. Look, I think the pick will boil down to either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud.
Number 1 overall is Bryce Young out of Alabama, a guy who is familiar with the S2 test, reportedly. He scores a 98. But on the other end, we have C.J. Stroud, who scored reportedly an 18.
The low score has pretty much predicted failure. That's across the board.
And now, don't get me wrong, I know Stroud's draft stock didn't completely plummet, but people were now so much more skeptical of how successful this kid could be because of this S2 test. But I mean, at the end of the
that's
day,
not gonna, bro. That doesn't mean anything.
I'm not a test taker. So.
Facts, bro. I'm with him on that one. I'm with him on that one.
Nobody, so I'm not gonna sit here and explain how I process football. The people who are making the picks know what I can do.
Facts, bro. Talk your shit, CJ.
By now it was draft day, and there was only one question. Who would the Texans get to take at number 2 and 12 with the pick gifted to them in the Watson trade?
Hello? CJ. What's up, Nick? What's happening, brother? How you doing? I'm doing well. I'm feeling a lot better now. Welcome to Texas, bud.
With the second pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud, quarterback, Ohio State.
This pick would alter the trajectory of this franchise forever. But in that moment, no one knew just how much it would. What the Texans would do next, though, would absolutely shock the NFL world.
Then they traded back up.
Wait, what? The Texans just went up to number 3?
Oh! After weeks of speculation, we know we have a trade. We will get to the details. Houston is on the clock.
Houston Texans are trading up to number 3.
Congratulations, Nick Caserio.
Man.
Let's go, my man. Let's go.
Will Anderson Jr.
It was plain and simple. The Texans wanted to get their guys, and that's exactly what they did. They didn't care what anybody said. They wanted these 2 guys, and they got them. But
hey, bro, 2 generational talents, man. Especially Will Anderson.
Of the
Roll Tide.
NFL Draft. Not only
That's what I'm
did
talking
they get their
about,
future
baby.
franchise quarterback, but the anchor of their defensive line,
Damn.
and what would turn out to be the 2 best players on both sides of the ball from that draft. On top of this, the 3rd rounder they got from the Watson trade would also
Tank
go
Dell.
down as a major hit of a pick, landing the explosive Tank Dell, and yet again proving how much of a fleece this trade has become, and was just the beginning. Coming into the 2023 year, many people were picking the Texans to barely win 6 games with a young roster and a new head coach, but they would absolutely blow those low expectations out of the water and become one of the scariest teams in the NFL. CJ Stroud went on to prove that he was the best quarterback from the 2023 draft class, and that those test results were complete BS. He had developed great relationships with his wide receivers Nico Collins and
then you add Diggs to that. Oh my gosh, bro. They're gonna be a nasty Madden team this year too. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna hate to play the Texans this year.
With the likes of Mahomes, Allen, and Burrow. To finish this season though, the Texans went on to win 3 out of their last 5 games, and one thing that stood out to me in those 2 losses that came in those 5 games was that they were when CJ Stroud was out with a concussion, almost proving how important he is to this team, and I honestly think should have won MVP last year. They finished the season 10-7, but
the right person won MVP. Let's keep it a buck.
Gotten hurt. They were able to lock up their first playoff berth in over 3 years. DeMeco Ryans not only changed the culture in Houston, but had absolutely rebuilt the franchise in less than a year. They had become the first first NFL team to win their division under a rookie head coach and a rookie quarterback. The craziest thing though is that despite being so dominant with Stroud all year and the defense playing so well, people still didn't pick them to beat the Browns in the first round of the playoffs. But yet again,
they stomped the ass out, bro. 45-14, and then we went on to blow them out the next week.
The Texans would go on to absolutely dog walk the Browns. Like, I mean, it absolutely never looked close. But after defying the odds all season, their magical run would be put to a halt by Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore Ravens dominant game and ultimately defeat the Texans.
Like, that's all we had to do against the Chiefs, bro, was run the ball. Run the ball. Run the ball.
Offensive rookie of the
Was that hard, bro? Now we got Derrick Henry now. We have no choice but to run the ball.
NFL history to have both rookie of the years on the same team. Like, I mean, this just proves how insane and how fast the Texans were able to rebuild this team into an elite contender. After all, completing a rebuild is one of the hardest things to do in the NFL. Injuries happen, draft picks don't pan out. It's just a place you don't want your franchise to be. Just ask the Carolina Panthers. They will forever regret not taking Stroud, who could go on to become a future Hall of Famer. But on the other side of the coin, if you hit your draft picks and land some solid pieces in free agency, then your franchise could turn around quick. And as I said earlier, speaking of free agency, how did the Texans manage to do this again?
Diggs, of course,
it's like, bro, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Team all-pro wideout who has played with Josh Allen for the
past bro
years in Buffalo. Now he's
all they had bro, they gave up a Modi sandwich and a bag of Pringles, bro. Not a bag of Pringles, a can of Pringles for this nigga.
Just goes on to prove that
they continue to fleece everybody.
One of the most franchise-altering trades of all time, and now the Texans look like one of the most threatening teams.
And now the Browns are stuck in cap hell, so like
Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs dynasty, and honestly the entire NFL for years to come. And being able to have all of this while having your future of the franchise be on a rookie deal not only helps put money in other places, but will allow for the Texans to spend more freely on players that will help Stroud excel and take that next step into becoming a top 5 quarterback in absolutely no time. Now, who knows though? Maybe the Texans just have high expectations now that they just get crushed by them and completely fall apart this year. Let me know down in the comment section below. What do you guys think is going to happen to the Texans this year? Give me a record prediction. Honestly, I think they're going to win the AFC South, and it's going to be by a large margin. Like, I'd say they at least are a 12 or 13 win team.
Yeah, for a 13-4,
they made
100%. They might even get the 1 seed this year. And this is coming from a Baltimore Ravens fan.
You guys join our Discord.
Like, they are looking so scary right now. But man, hey, W video, bro. The Texans really look dangerous, bro. They really do. The fastest rebound in NFL history. That shit is crazy to me. But hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you're new, turn on my post notifications to get notified whenever I drop another banger video. And without further ado, I'm out. Gang.